One thing about that that I wanted to ask maybe later on, but now it fits quite well. Is you won quite some awards and accolades, and your debut album has only been released 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So was that a good thing for you?
Well, the awards weren't awarded to the album. Like,
No,
yeah, no, I understand, but the awards, like the album was actually finished and completed and sent off and done before I found out that I'd received those awards.
Oh, right.
So there's like, you know, literally everything that's happened since then has been, it's just the entire thing is out of my control. It's completely out of my control, and I'm very aware of that. You know, I didn't ask for it. I didn't ask for these awards. There are some journalists over in the UK that would like to think that I did, but I have to disappoint them and say I didn't. You know, it's incredible, but I mean, the exposure that's come with it has been unbelievable, and I would be terrified if I didn't think I had something to give, and if I felt like I couldn't live up to that attention. But I feel like I can. I feel like I have something that I want to show it to as many people as possible, and to have been given those awards is incredible because it means lots of people will try it out. You know, lots of people will listen and see if they enjoy it, and if they do, great, and if they don't, great. So that's the good side of it. The bad side of it is that ultimately those awards are put in place to encourage new music. And you know, the BBC Sound Poll and the Brits Critics' Choice Award, those are there to encourage new, challenging, interesting music. And I feel obviously very overwhelmed and complimented that I've been given the award, but I feel like having a winner of it defeats the point of having the award in the first place. Because people will go, right, so there's 15 names here, and you've said that this one is, you know, the winner.
Sure.
Like, well, I don't think that. You know, I disagree with you. And it kind of, it encourages people to rebel against it. It encourages people to, you know, purposefully disagree, rather than giving people the opportunity to discover music for themselves in their own time, which is how I feel music should be, you know, discovered.
Sure.
But I don't know, I just can't control any of that. Like I said, it was all done out of my control.
But so it didn't, in that way, impede on your creative process, in the sense of that there was a pressure to live up to something?
No, not at all, because like my creative process had finished before the award came, you know, so there was nothing I could do. So I did everything I could and made the best record that I could in my own time and with my own ideas, and then I got given these awards. Nothing changed in between that. Literally, I gave in all of my final mixes and everything to get them mastered, and like a week later, the BBC Award and the Brits Award kind of were announced, or I was told that I was involved in all of that. Yeah.
Okay. And you say, well, you mentioned that there is a certain expectation that you now have to live up to, but you feel confident that you can.
Well, it's not that there's an expectation I can live up to. What I said was that there's a tension, and I feel like I can give something to those people. Yeah, I don't feel like I can live up to the expectation, because I feel like the expectation is unnecessary. You know, I genuinely don't believe the hype, because you should find it for yourself. You know, if you think that it's worth it, you should be able to, you should be allowed to have the strength and the freedom to make that decision for yourself. You know, lots of people are saying that I'm an exciting artist that will hopefully do something good this year, and I hope I can be those things, but I released my debut album 3 days ago.
Sure.
You know, I'm a baby, you know.
Is it now then, is releasing your debut album quite liberating in that way then? No. Okay.
It's great to have released it. I'm so glad that it's out, but it's not liberating. I don't feel like there's a weight off my shoulders or anything like that. I feel I'm immensely proud of it, of the album, and I feel like it's the best that I could have done on my own in that moment. And I did most of it on my own, and it's taken me 3 years to put together, and I'm incredibly proud of it. There's no wasted notes on it whatsoever. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm still listening to it a lot. It's still there, like just because it's now, I don't know, I don't even feel like I'm sharing the load or anything. It's incredibly important to me, and I'm you know, about to embark on a big tour and go and play it to as many people as possible. And, you know, so it's still there. I still feel it.
And then, well, you say this journey, so to say, kind of started 3 years ago. And then a couple of songs are earlier songs of yours. So what was the starting point of the album? When you wrote some of these early songs, did you already have an album in mind?
No, I didn't write any of the songs for the album.
Okay.
You know, I just wrote these songs and they made an album for me, kind of thing. I put them together in a way that made sense. None of the songs were on there because I felt like they had to be, you know. The only songs that I only wrote about 15 songs that could have gone on the album anyway, and there's 12. And the other 2 or 3 or so that aren't there are on the deluxe version, you know, like all the songs are there. This is all the music I have at the moment, is in other people's possession. I never meant to make an album. I just tried to write songs. I think that's also why all my songs sound quite different, because I treat everyone individually with the same amount of attention and the same amount of respect. None of them are there to fill in the gaps on the record.
Do you then write for one chunk of time and you write a lot, or are they very separate?
It depends, actually. It kind of depends on the song. I've had moments where, like, when I released my second EP, it was called Synesthesiac. Right. I wrote a lot of that in the same 2 weeks, and then these 3 songs came out of it, or 4 songs, I think 5 songs came out of it, and I remember going, "Oh shit, okay, there's an EP there." Like, I didn't mean to write it, but that happened. But there are other songs of mine, like there's a song of mine called Water, which was on the first EP called Remnants. That came really randomly and took me about a year to write and finish and put together.
Well, it's interesting what you mentioned about Synesthesiac, because on Face there are 2 songs that are linked to that. Yeah. How come they didn't make the EP and then kind of flowed into the album?
Because it just didn't make sense for them to be on the EP.
Okay.
Synesthesia Part 1 was essentially the demo.
Okay.
And it had a second part, which is Synesthesia Part 3. It had a demo. That whole idea, that synesthesia thing, is that's actually one of the oldest things I wrote. I wrote that before Remnants, before the EP, before Synesthesiac, before the album. I wrote it as a song called Synesthesia, and it had lyrics and melody and everything. And not in the way that people know it now, not with all the big production and everything behind it, but yeah, I had this song written and done, and it was the first time I'd pushed myself to use kind of different chords, and I'd written on a piano as well, which I never did back then. Right. I was always writing on guitar, and I wrote on piano, and this chord sequence came out of me, the way that these chords fitted together and moved, and it was a bit jazzy, but also a bit futuristic and a little bit atonal in places, and kind of strange, but it interested me. It made me feel something. It made me feel more than any of the other songs I was writing at the time. And I wrote this song from it called Synesthesia. Scrapped the song completely and kept the instrumental and turned it into this kind of currently 3-part series of my mind. That's kind of what it's supposed to be. It's you know, it's my head going as far as I feel like my head can go with sounds and ideas and emotions.
Yeah, you mentioned emotions. So when do the lyrics or the themes of the songs come in?
Well, in songs in general, the lyrics always come at the end. Okay. I've always done that. I've always like started off with a beat or a chord sequence or a pattern or an idea, and then tried to evoke an emotion out of it. And then once I feel like I'm there, I'll go to my laptop and I'll produce it up a bit, and I'll give it a beat, and I'll give it a sound and a tone and a personality. And then once that starts to evoke more emotion out of me, I'll go back to the guitar or back to the piano and start writing the song. But the first thing that always comes is the music. That's like, it's the thing I feel like I can speak most honestly through. And
then in that sense, does the music, does that drive the type of lyrics that come out?
It absolutely does. For me, it has to. Okay. Because I have to treat the songs with respect, you know. I have to imagine that the songs already exist, that they're already written, and I'm just coaxing them out of the space around my head and trying to get them out of my face. But yeah, but the music has to make me feel a certain way for me to then write a particular lyric, you know.
What song did you feel you've grasped it best?
Yeah, The Love You're Given.
And quickly, because I think my
Yeah.
time's up. So how come this song?
Yeah, no, The Love You're Given was a song that came about very, very quickly. It came to me when I was watching a documentary called 20 Feet from Stardom. There was a woman on it called Lisa Fisher who sings this hauntingly beautiful melody at one point in the movie, and so it grabbed me instantly. And I'd never used a sample before. I'd never done sampling, so I just recorded it off of my phone through speakers that I was watching the film on, took it into my laptop and built up a song from it. And I wrote and recorded and finished The Love You're Given in 3 days.
Okay.
That's one of the quickest times I've ever done a song, is in that amount of time. From nothing to the version that's on the album. It took me 3 days. Because it just came. It came ready. It wanted to be written. You know, I had this vocal loop going around. I sat down at the piano, and the first thing I did was the first verse. It just came out of my mouth. I didn't have to think about it. Luckily, I was recording it on my phone, and you know, the melody was the same, the lyrics were the same, everything about that song. Like, all the ideas in that song were the first ideas that I had.
Right.
Because they were ready. They came packaged, and they came wanting to be heard by people. Yeah, I love that song. I really do enjoy that one.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Thank you very much.